and welcome to the latest exciting installment of Bite Me. I'm Martin, and I'm joined, as always, by my friend Joe Ford.
Hello, hello, hello. We're very sad that we've been away for 2 weeks, and I know we put out an interview in the intervening week, but we're very pleased to be back.
Yeah. Sorry about that. We just had real life get in the way of us. Joe was ill, and then I had family members staying with me. My sister and my nephew came to visit. So then that put like 5 of us in a 2-bedroom flat. So it just wasn't conducive to the recording process.
5 of you in a 2-bedroom flat. Oh, that sounds
Yeah,
ghastly. How did you
yeah.
survive that?
Well, it was only for 2 nights,
Oh,
thankfully.
okay.
So my nephew went in my son's bedroom with him, and then my sister had the living room, and me and Penny obviously had our bedroom. But yeah, I was glad when they went after 2 nights. It was nice to see them, but yeah.
It's so lovely to see you. Goodbye now.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Isn't it frustrating, when having a life gets in the way of the more fruitful pursuits like podcasting? It's really irritating.
It is.
I
It is.
just want to do this all the time.
Now, apologies for my voice if it cracks at all. I've got a bit of a cold this week, so we're soldiering through.
I think it sounds even sexier than ever, actually. A sort of
Well,
broken, cold man flu voice.
well, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Yeah. Did you see, right, on one of we've had a few more reviews since the last time we spoke to you guys, and someone went, once I figured out what they were saying, I thought they were really funny. So thank you to that listener. All right.
I think that was an American review. Yeah.
I think because we use a lot of colloquialisms, don't we? So we use a lot of British slang.
Yeah.
So I can yeah, he's probably there going, right, well, hang on, where's the Urban Dictionary? Right, what the hell did Joe Ford just say?
Yeah, I think he asked for more subtitles on the YouTube videos.
Cheeky shit. Pay attention, all right?
But yeah, thank you to everyone who's left reviews. It was getting to a point where it was pretty much every day we were waking up and there was a new
It
one.
was getting absurd. Now we've sort of leveled out now, but I mean, even so, there's something like 20 votes on
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts, all sort of 5 stars, apart from one. And that poor fellow who doesn't like us, well, it's nice to have a bit of balance. If you're upsetting somebody, then you're doing something right, I usually think.
That's true. Yeah, we've had 9 5 stars on Spotify as well.
Man, Jesus, we're heading for the stars, Martin.
Apologies to the 3 winners of our mug competition that we ran. I've not had a chance to get to the post office yet, but those mugs will be coming to you next week.
I'm drinking from a Bite Me mug as we speak. And I have to say, they drink very well. So you guys are going to enjoy those when they arrive.
They do. Yeah, I just had a cup of tea before I recorded, so that's where my mug is right now.
Cup of tea. There you go. There's an English colloquialism for you.
Coffee. So, how's your week been, mate?
I'm on holiday this week.
Yay!
So it's been pretty chill. I have done a lot of podcasting. The weather is foul. To that listener in America, yeah, who's enjoying the sunshine every day, like Buffy in California, this is typical British weather at the moment. And I live by the sea, and there's nothing more depressing than a seaside town in England in winter. In summer, it's glorious. Everyone's down the beach having barbecues and stuff. But in the winter, nobody's coming out. The sea's wild. The sea spray slapping you in the face. No, everyone's covered up with brollies and macs, and it's just horrid. So I've been stuck indoors all week, basically reading, podcasting, and eating a lot of really bad food.
Well, you know what? This close to Christmas, you might as well just go with it.
I found a shop, that sells broken biscuits. That, for anybody listening, is where the factory have all the sort of misshapen biscuits or biscuits that are broken during the process of putting them in the packets. So they shove all the different varieties of biscuit in a big box and then send them out. And so when you put your hand in the box, you don't know what you're going to get. It's my new favorite thing in the world. One minute you got a custard cream, then you got a bourbon, then you've got a shortcake.
See, this podcast is all about us sharing our personal stories. So my dad loves broken biscuits because he thought they were posh when he was younger.
Oh, bless him. No, they're the rejects, aren't they?
Yeah. I think his mum worked in the factory that makes biscuits. So she used to be allowed to bring home all the broken ones.
Oh, they're the
And he just
best.
assumed because she would come home with boxes of them that's how biscuits were.
Oh, well, I'd say that's a hell of an upbringing if he was brought up on a steady diet of broken biscuits.
Yeah, he's got quite severe diabetes now, though. But
Do you know what? That fella out in America's going, oh my God, miserable seaside town, broken biscuits in a box. These fellas truly are living the worst existence. This is why we talk about Buffy for an hour a week. All right.
All right, so let's get into this. We are talking about the episode Nightmares, which is the 10th episode of the first series, and it originally aired on the 12th of May, 1997.
That was my 17th birthday.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I was born on the 12th of May. Yes.
Excellent.
And 17 as well. You don't even want to know what I was getting up to on my 17th birthday. All right. I came out when I was 15. I was sexually active when I was 16. So, but on my 17th birthday, alas, I probably wasn't watching Nightmares going out live.
Yeah, when I turned 17, I've got a really, really embarrassing story. Me and my friends decided we wanted to go to a nightclub. And we were too young. You have to be 18 to get into a nightclub over here. And we were 17. We queued up for an hour. And then we got there and we said, "Oh, we'd like to come in." And the guy was like, "No, boys, you're not coming in." We didn't want to waste the night. So we went to a midnight screening of She's All That.
Wow. You were rebels, weren't you?
Yeah.
I've just remembered what I was doing on my. Can I share it?
Yeah, go on.
Well, I went to Club Revenge. Now, you weren't allowed to go to clubs, as you say, until you're 18, but I was a cute 17-year-old, and, the bouncers on the door let me in. And I took my sister down Club Revenge in Brighton, which is a gay club, and I came back with a fella I was in with my mum, and so I went into the living room, and my sister took my bedroom that night, right? And the funniest thing was my mum, who was also, a bit of a tart, pulled that night as well. Okay, this was a house of vice, I'm telling you now. And in the morning, I'll never forget, my fella and her fella met in the kitchen. And this is what both of us with one night stands. These two men are never going to meet again. And they're sort of both, because I think my mum's fella was thinking, is this her other fella? And my fella was thinking, is this his other fella? And then they both came back in, and my mum said she had a conversation with him, and I had a conversation. And anyway, we never saw either of those blokes again. But now that story's been immortalised on this podcast.
Excellent. So, Nightmares, it was directed by our good friend Bruce Seth Green.
Brilliantly directed as well, I thought.
Yeah. Based on a story by Joss Whedon, but written by David Greenwalt.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm not entirely convinced this is the best script of the season. Because I think it gets a bit muddy in the middle, and I was very confused. I know we're doing these sort of all these nightmares overlapping, but apart from sort of the kid appearing, it didn't feel like a one character's journey that we were following through this. We were just sort of going from one set piece to another set piece. They were all good set pieces, but it all felt a bit disjointed.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, this is clearly oh fuck, we need a budget for the finale. What can we do? This is a cheap episode. But I think all the performances are great. All the nightmares are great. I love that Giles's nightmare is just not being able to read.
Yeah.
And losing all of that knowledge and losing Buffy.
And he's too scared to say as well, isn't he, that he can't. Initially, he's just trying to pretend, that he's researching. All of the nightmares told us something about the characters. And I do wonder if this had been sort of 2 or 3 years later, they would have, because I think most characters, Buffy had 2, didn't she? She had the idea that her dad didn't love her and want to spend time, and the idea that she might become a vampire as well. And I'm wondering if down the line, if it had been maybe in like series 3 where the show's super confident, they would have just gone with one nightmare and really explored that in a lot of depth.
Yeah, I think so. And this does introduce stuff that does come back later.
Yes.
They mention about singing in this, and obviously we'll get the musical episode later.
Dreams that would be a musical comedy version of this, is what Giles says. Yeah. But Giles also fears failing Buffy and her dying. Well, that does occur later on in the series. And Buffy fears being buried alive.
Yeah.
And that happens later on in the series as well.
I understand that. Oh, that would, just imagine that. That would be horrendous. The nightmare that really got me is the dad one. I kind of have that on the opposite end of the scale because my kids are now 15 and 11. And they're getting to the point where they don't want to come every weekend now. So they used to come every weekend. Without fail, they would be with me every weekend. Then it'd be every other weekend. Sorry, hit my mic. And now sometimes it's 2-3 months between them coming. And yeah, I go through that. I go through, wow, do they want to be with me? Do they want to see me? Of course, they're finding out who they are now and getting their own lives, and I get that. But yeah, I totally got that side, but just from the parents' angle.
That scene was essentially what happened to me when I came out as being gay, I went to Lewis prison where my father was doing time for 5 years for attempting to smuggle drugs into the country. That's a whole other story. We won't go into that. But he was in prison, and all of my family was starting to find out that I was gay because I wasn't making a secret of it anymore. And I knew I had to go and tell him. And my dad was a big, scary, heterosexual, beer drinking, a proper lad dad, he wanted me to be into football and whiskey. Unfortunately, I was into men and Doctor Who mostly. um, and I said to him, I went and told him, and he looked me in the eye, "Oh, gay, then you my son." So we effectively had that. So when I was watching that with Buffy, seeing her reaction, I was really like, remember that feeling of being rejected a parent. Yeah, and I thought Michelle Gellar played that brilliantly as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. That's such an emotional scene.
All of this sort of nerves and expectation about him coming was played really well. And then I really like the scene at the end where all the nightmares are over and he comes to pick her up and she's like a giddy kid, isn't she? Sort of running out to see him. It's really nice. It's what we said in series one before about how Buffy is being portrayed as a young Californian girl. I think that does go away as she sort of matures with the series. But I'm really enjoying it this time round.
Yeah, I think it's good to remind the audience every now and again that, yeah, this is a 16-year-old girl. And I think we forget that.
Can I ask you a question, please? Because I haven't seen Grease, the film, for a very long time, but I was extremely curious as to why the T-Birds are still about in the 1990s. Did you see those three in the leather jackets and the sunglasses?
Yes.
I was like, what the fuck is this? There's no one in the mid 90s or the early 90s dressed up like that. I'm telling you.
And this is just pre-Matrix. So yeah, they wouldn't have been. Maybe
Oh my god. I
there's
was
something
like,
sinister going on.
this is cringe. That's the bad part of series one is because being cool ages so badly. What's cool in 1990 is
Yeah.
very different to what's cool in 2023. But then the mum comes in, doesn't she? Goes, "Oh, there's my Pookie Bear," and that didn't last too
Coolness and humor, the only things that age like milk.
long. I've got a question for you then. If this was going to be your nightmares, Martin, say we were in Sunnydale High during this episode, what would you be seeing?
Me and Penny always have this because she's always going on about dreams that she had, and she'll wake up and be, "Oh, I had this really weird dream," and then tell me about it. And she said to me quite recently, "You never talk about dreams, and either I don't have them or I just don't remember them because
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't either.
I don't have dreams like this. I guess a nightmare scenario, a fear would be my kids not wanting to ever see me again. Buried alive would definitely be up there. I don't know if it would be my top fear, but it would be there.
I think like my biggest fear is imposter syndrome. My imposter syndrome. Now I have that quite badly. Certainly in my work when I used to be a manager, sometimes with my podcasting, and certainly in my social circles as well. And so if that was completely exposed in a public setting in front of all the people that I want to respect me, I think that would be my biggest nightmare. That happening. This is great. This podcast really is turning into a form of therapy.
It is. It is great. It's
I
great.
feel like I'm growing as a person talking about this show.
That's what the show's about.
Do you know? And it's so annoying as well because while we're talking about dreams, and I'm going to roost slant on this, I've only ever had two wet dreams in my entire life, right? And both of them were with people I worked with who were just absolutely hideous. So I was like, what is my mind telling me about these people? They were both really ugly, and I can vividly remember the dreams. And I had no sexual desire towards those two people at all. So it could only be my mind rebelling against me for being a salty man.
You should have given it a go.
All right, they were.
Have you ever had that dream? Because people always say, "Oh, I had the dream where I was naked in school again." Xander experiences that. Have you?
Ah, that was my favourite part of the whole episode.
You know what I said to Penny? Joe's going to love this.
Oh my god, he's beautiful, isn't he? And you know what? He's done that thing that actors do to be naked. He's clearly done a feats
Yeah.
before coming on because his chest's looking pretty fine. Although he's pale as milk, isn't he? He could be British. Nicholas
Yeah.
Brendon, he's so white.
He's probably not had any water for like 2 days before that to like, because that's what they do.
Although, can we have a moment for the least sexy underwear ever seen on a man? What is he wearing? They're practically long johns.
Yeah, I guess this is meant to remind us that he's not cool.
Yes, they remind us that with spectacular frequency. Well, you know, we got another really good glimpse at the Master's lair in the first scene where Buffy's Buffy's walking around the lair, isn't she? And we don't see the Master for a bit, and we really get to see that set, which is vast. I didn't realize as the camera's exploring around just how big that set is. I'm going to be truly, truly sad when we go into 2 and we lose that, and when we lose Mark Metcalf as well.
Yeah, it's a shame he didn't hang around a little bit longer.
I mean, I don't remember how long he is above the surface in Prophecy Girl, but I don't think it's too long before he's killed. So it's quite nice to have a little sort of teaser of that in this episode.
Yeah. And what do you think make of Buffy's fear not being able to defend herself against him?
Well, that sort of comes to be, doesn't it, in Prophecy Girl?
It does, yeah.
Is this almost like a little trailer for the finale?
I think it is, yeah. There's elements in this that come back, and obviously we get Willow's fear of being up on stage and not knowing the words and stuff. And
that sequence with the opera was just sublime.
I guess that goes back to your imposter syndrome dream. That could be the same.
Oh, I have terrible stage fright. Again, just standing up in front of people and expressing a talent. So I was there with Willow in that scene as well. But just how they pulled in that incredible opera singer, like that's a real opera singer singing there. And then Alison Hannigan just goes, and then runs off. She runs off in the same way she did in the puppet show.
Yeah.
So like there was scary bits in this, and there were funny bits in this. So this was a good hour of television, I think.
Yeah. Did we get Cordelia in this? I watched it a week ago now.
You know we did. The bit where she had all the crazy matted hair.
Of course. Yes. Oh,
she puts the comb in and the comb breaks because it's so thick.
That's right. And the spiders.
Oh, yes. Now, what do you think?
I'm all right with them, but I don't necessarily want one in my house.
No, I'm the complete reverse. I've been badgering every partner I've ever had to have a tarantula spider because I just think that those big fluffy legs are so cute. And unfortunately, they've all threatened to leave me if I do that. Can I tell you a story? Once upon a time, my mate Kate has got such terrible arachnophobia. Like she can't handle tiny ones. I used to have to go like from one town to another to get tiny spiders out of her house back in the day. And she come around my house, right? And I said, "Oh, we bought a fish tank." But it didn't have the fish in it yet. And I said, right, let's pretend she's come round tonight. Let's pretend it's got a tarantula spider in it. So I said, come in. And she's like, what? And I led her into the spare room and it had like a tea towel over the top. And she's going, what's that? Why have you got that case there? What's going on? And I put the thing back and went, spider! And she went screaming out of the room. Yeah, I've never had. Like, even the bit where they're all sort of crawling over his face. A spider is not going to do you any harm at all unless you truly rile it.
Yeah, I guess so. His fear was kind of harrowing, and it wasn't that he was scared of spiders. He was scared of them being hurt again because his brother didn't look after them properly.
He's got a look as well, hasn't he? Wendell with his ponytail at the back.
Yeah, he looks like he's about 35, but we need to get over that, I guess.
I've noticed with all of these sort of characters coming in, I know Amy's an exception. All of these sort of one-off kids that we meet, none of them we meet again.
Yeah,
so it's not like Buffy amasses a group of regulars, like semi-regulars like that. It is just the core cast and then whoever they decide to bring in that week.
Yeah, I don't think it's till Jonathan that we get a recurring one that pops up.
When's Jonathan's first appearance?
He might have already been in one as just like an extra. But I remember he's just he's in a few. He's always just in the background. Sometimes he's got a line or two. But he's in the on-aired pilot.
He's truly the example of the creators going, "Wow, we've got something here. Let's give him more to do." And
Yeah.
then he gets one episode, doesn't he, in series 4, which is all about him. And then he's a villain in series 6, and it's a semi-regular in series 7. I think Jonathan's great. I forget what the actor's name is now, but really good.
Is it Danny Strong?
Yes, Danny
Yeah.
Strong. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a
he's
writer now. He's been nominated for Oscars and stuff like that for films he's
wow.
written. Yeah.
Jesus, you turned up on Pleasantville, the movie from the 90s, the Tobey Maguire, Reese Witherspoon, and he was just an extra in that as well. And I was so used to seeing him as an extra in Buffy. I was like, "Oh, there's Jonathan." Can we please talk about the scariest thing though in this entire episode?
Yeah, go on.
Buffy's hideous cushions. Did you see them?
I didn't notice him.
In the very first scene when she wakes up from that dream, her cushion's made out of what looks like very English doilies. Absolutely fucking hideous. No, I'm being facetious, although they were ugly. The clowns, what I'm talking about. I hate clowns.
Yeah, I don't hate clowns, but I get why people would.
Ooh.
I guess it's the uncanny valley type of thing where they almost look right, but not quite.
It's the painted smile. It's the mockery of emotion that I
Mm.
don't like. And I did love though how they did the sort of Hansel and Gretel thing of the run of chocolate bars. And Xander's so fucking stupid. He's going, "Oh my god, it's my lucky day," not realizing he's been led like a lamb to bloody slaughter.
Yeah,
But when he turned around and punched it, that was a very cathartic moment for me. I had a McDonald's party when I was a kid, and Ronald McDonald was there. Have you seen him?
yeah,
Ronald McDonald's bloody terrifying.
yeah.
Serving up burgers to kids. I mean, it's horrific. Anyway, I wish I'd had the chance to sort of bop him on the nose back in the day. So when Xander did it, I was like, yeah,
Just
good.
imagine that this poor minimum wage worker put that uniform on today.
It's bad enough I've got to wear this makeup. Yeah,
Yeah.
bless him.
No, never really been scared of clowns, but I see why McDonald's have retired him because people are scared.
Let's see, what else have I? There is a sort of thread with this about academic failure. Both Buffy and Xander, there's inferences to them both being afraid. So her with the test, not being able to do a history test properly, and then there is a line about Xander as well, which I think is quite interesting because both of them go on. I mean, they say Buffy's got a first class mind later on in the series, but actually she ends up on minimum wage working in a dumb meat palace, whereas Xander, he does end up working a trade, which is a very useful trade, especially in Buffy's when she's smashing the house up every 5 minutes. But again, it is not considered to be like prestige career, is it, being a carpenter?
No, true. They get a lot of emotional nightmares in this, and we see just how much the characters all mean to each other.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, like it was all a bit confused because we just kept going from one nightmare to another nightmare like that. But actually, it does keep your interest because you're never in one for too long to go, okay, well, they played this out for too long now, you know. So that sort of scattershot all over the place direction of the narrative. It meant it was a quick watch. I didn't get bored.
Oh, while I remember, did you happen to watch that Screen Junkies honest trailer for Buffy?
I've seen that before, you know.
Oh yeah,
They are brilliant. Those
yeah.
honestly, and they somehow managed to walk that fine line between completely taking the piss and utterly respecting that it is a great piece of work.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. They did one for Doctor Who back in the day.
Yeah, no, they did one for the classic series and the new series.
Yeah, so good, so good. Yeah, I just loved it that they talk about the Hellmouth being a plot device to just spew up a monster of the week.
We'll have to get once we've done the run of this, you know, this podcast. We'll have to get them to do an honesty trailer on Bite Me. I'm sure they can drag out plenty of cliches that we're going to have along the way.
So we should talk about the little boy whose nightmare this all encapsulates.
Yeah, that's the part of this that didn't work for me because whilst I think that there are adults in America that go to extreme lengths to succeed via their children. We saw that in The Witch earlier in the season. I don't think any of this was seeded enough or shocking enough. So basically, we just needed a reason as to why this was happening. So you've got the kid in the hospital, and then the coach comes along at the end. That's the only time we see him. And he's like, "Oh, hi, how you doing? Oh, yeah, he's awake. Oh, shit, I'll beat him up." The end. and it's not seeded enough. It's not explored enough. It was just just. What do you think about all of this?
It's a bit Deus Ex Machina, I believe they
Mm.
say. Yeah.
Oh, very
Um,
nice.
that's the first time I've ever pronounced that correctly. Um, yeah, I mean, I get why they did it, but yeah, it's a bit convoluted, I suppose.
I think we touch on stuff like this later on. Do you remember the episode Ted in series 2,
Yeah.
where the inference is that he is capable of using his fists if he's not happy, and he comes at Buffy, doesn't he, towards the end of the episode? It's unfortunately spoiled when it turns out he's a bloody great robot, because he's a lot scarier as a person. But it takes that sort of idea and explores it across an entire episode, whereas here it's explored in a single scene. And
Yeah.
what can you do with that? You know, you just basically have to just run with it and say, right, well, that was that. All the nightmares are over. Happy days.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really, I suppose, do much with it. But again, it's one of the best episodes of the first series.
What nightmares?
Yeah. Yeah.
I, I was going to put this near the bottom, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's a good indication of how good Series 1 is, because I still think it's pretty good. I don't think it's as bad as Never Kill a Boy on a First Date, and I don't think it's as bad as I, Robot You, Jane, but I'd probably put it third weakest after that. But that's just an indication of how. I mean, look at the ones we've done: The Witch, The Harvest,
Yeah.
Angel, The Puppet Show. You know, series 1 comes in for a lot of flag, but I think it's more consistent than people think.
It's amazing that the first series of a show is this good because series one, it's the experimental ground. It's where you're finding your feet. And I think that's why the Eccleston era of Doctor Who kind of gets overlooked because it's series one when the show was discovering what it was. And then because he gets replaced by David Tennant, who went on to be really successful, it kind of gets overlooked. But here, I think, yeah, it's fine. I mean, if I just felt like watching an episode of Buffy, I probably wouldn't reach for series one. But
Maybe Angel, maybe that would be the one episode that I'd reach for in
yeah,
series 1 if I was just going to watch like a single episode. But I do think that, and maybe we'll discover this is wrong as we keep going into series 2 and 3. I'm wondering if this is where the show is most explicitly about real life teen horrors being sort of explored in a supernatural way, because I really feel like it's very obvious what the analogy is in every single episode. Next week we're doing the Invisible Girl one, and that's just about being ignored at school and things like that. Where as the show continues, it becomes far more about the characters and a bit sort of soap opera and all about the romances and all the interplay and all of this. Whereas I feel like because we're not doing a lot of that at this point, the premises and the sort of high school is hell idea of Buffy is really explicit in this version, and I really like that.
yeah. What did you make of the prosthetics on the big hulking guy that represents the coach?
No, I didn't mind the face, but I thought the big clunky hand that looked like a cricket bat or whatever it
Yeah.
was very strange. And unfortunately, this is something we'll come up against. The double for Buffy during the action sequences is, I have to say this nicely, chunkier than Sarah Michelle Gellar. I'm very aware of when it's Sarah Michelle Gellar and when it's her body double, because her body double is a little chunkier than her. So it's sort of instantly visually obvious who's
There's
who.
moments later on where I think you can tell it's a man.
Yeah.
Just,
But you know as well as me, think about that sequence with Faith towards the end of series 3, the fight there. These fights just get better. They get better at doing this till Jesus, Dark Willow and all of that. The fights there. I mean, it becomes as good as a Tarantino movie in places later on. So if these are humble beginnings, well, they're learning.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, and all the fights in Angel will go on to be great. So yeah, they are very much finding their feet here. So I think we've talked enough about this episode. I was just curious if you've listened to any of Slayers yet.
Oh God, I knew you was going to ask me that question. And I haven't, but that's only because I have had so much to listen to and read.
Yeah.
You got to remember, I've got 5 podcasts on the go now, so there's a lot of material I have to get through, and this would have been a good week to do it as well. So I will certainly get to it as soon as is humanly possible.
I've started listening to a Buffy audiobook called Big Bad.
Any good?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's another multiverse story where the trio, Jonathan, Andrew, what's the other, Warren? Uh,
Warren.
they're they're
Warren.
the good guys in this universe that
Oh
took
wow.
down Buffy. So yeah, they're taking down vampires and stuff, and it's quite
Is it
interesting.
is it the actors, the original actors?
No, it's just a book read by a
Oh,
narrator.
okay.
But yeah,
What's now the dust has settled on the Slayers? What seems to be the general opinion of fandom?
most people seem to have enjoyed it, but this is what's different about Buffy fandom to say Doctor Who is that the Buffy fans that I've seen that haven't enjoyed Slayers are like, okay, it wasn't for me, but I'm happy that something is finally happening with this property. And they seem to be really enthusiastic about a thing they didn't enjoy. Imagine a big finish coming along and Doctor Who fans not liking it and being like, oh well, of course it's all, something's finally happening with this.
Well, we've just had the multimedia platform doomsday in the Doctor Who universe, and honestly, there's hundreds of thousands of Doctor Who fans, and no one's got a good word to say about it. And they're trying to do something different, but everybody's just been horrible about it. I do think you're right. I think, and one of the joys of doing this, beyond talking to you, beyond watching the episodes, is that we're connecting with the Buffy fan base via this podcast, and they just seem to be like one lovely people
Yeah.
with a real passion for it. So maybe like with Slayers, it's like opening the door, isn't it? If this wasn't the best they could have hoped for, the door's been opened now, and hopefully they'll do some more, and better will come.
I hope so. It does end really strongly. I've said
Maybe
that before and teased that, but it does end strongly.
maybe we can sum up the two audiences as Doctor Who audience, glass is half empty. Buffy the Vampire Slayer audience, the glass is half.
Yeah, I recommend listening to it. I'm going to re-listen because I want us to do a podcast about it at some point.
That if you book me in to do that podcast, then I'll definitely listen to it then, because that's the only way I listen or read to anything these days if I'm doing a podcast.
And we get more Clem.
Oh, is he in it? Well, the
Yeah,
actor.
He's in it a lot. He's off the kittens.
Oh, he's the best. I love his floppy ears.
Yeah. You get the sound effect of those on the audio, and you know exactly what they are when they do it.
I'm going to say that we are now. I remember really loving the Invisible Girl episode, so I think we're on a 2 for 2 in the future of really good episodes. I took a look at. No, I don't have the book here. I've got Slayer, which is written by Keith Topping. He did these sort of episode guides with commentaries and things like that in there. And I took a look forward at season 2. We've already said, like we really like season 2. Actually, I think some of the weaker episodes are in the first half of season 2. There's stuff in there like Inca Mummy Girl. And not school hard, some assembly required, which is the Frankenstein one, of episodes where I remember going, oh no, as we hit season 2, has the show gone off the boil already? Of course, we know that ain't the case, because halfway through the season something dramatic happens and things get even better. But
I guess, yeah, when we think about it, we're remembering Becoming and stuff like that. We're not remembering Inca Mama Girl. Didn't Sarah Michelle Gellar have laryngitis or something when she filmed that? And they had to redo her audio afterwards.
oh really?
Slightly out of sync, if I remember.
Oh, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. I've got to confess, I have been watching these on Disney Plus, so it's the upscaled versions. Where I've got to say the picture quality is astonishing. Like it's as clear as I've ever seen the episodes. But in upscaling it, I swear to God, everything just feels more close up. I feel as if the picture is smaller.
Yeah, well, they cropped it so that it fills a whole screen now, because it used to be 4:3, so you'd have the 2 black bars on either side. And there's a great video, actually, I might put it in the show notes, about the Buffy HD transfers. And it was essentially an AI that did it.
Oh, okay.
And that's why everyone looks a bit plasticky, because they put out a smoothness filter to take away the film grain, and it takes away every wrinkle in someone's face.
Oh, no. No wonder everybody looks so pretty.
Yeah, and they also used like an AI to reposition the camera. So there's a lot of scenes where it's Buffy and Angel, and you only see the top of Buffy's head and Angel's chin because of the height difference. But the way it was shot properly, and I know there's a few moments where, like during that Buffy Faith fight on that rooftop, There's a few moments where you can see the cameraman.
Okay, maybe I'll go, but I'll. Do you know what? It's only because I'm lazy. I don't want to go upstairs and get the DVD off the shelf. But do you know what? For those 1 minute of going up and down the stairs, I think I might do it in the future.
Yeah, yeah. If you watch it on DVD, you won't see it because it's in the 4:3. But that's why every so often you'll see something on Twitter trending about Friends, and they'll be like, "Oh, they completely replaced Monica in this episode, and nobody realized." And it's like, no, it's because when they replaced Monica, it would have been 4:3, and you would have only seen the stand-in's arm or shoulder or the back of her head or something.
The proper way of doing it is how they did it for Star Trek: The Next Generation, isn't it? But that is an incredibly expensive process, and they figured that there was enough of a fan base there that they would recoup their money on the box sets, and they never did. Which is why they never did DS9 and why they never did Voyager, which is a shame because one of those is a better show. But yeah, I can see why they didn't go down the expensive route with Buffy because it's an old show now, and they'll be grateful for this. Well,
Yeah, I mean, I bet if it came back, maybe Disney would reinvest the money. It was Fox that did the HD transfers. Disney inherited those. The Wire is a really good example of it being done well. But so that was in 4:3, and they digitally painted scenes to expand them and like remove cameramen and stuff like that. And they really took the time. If you can ever find a YouTube comparison of the DVD and the Blu-ray of The Wire, it's like two separate productions. It's just a thing of beauty.
Can I confess something to you?
Go on.
I really couldn't get on with The Wire,
Oh, really?
and I couldn't get on with Breaking Bad either, despite the fact that those were two shows that everybody I know was telling me were the best TV shows out. I tried both of them. Oh, and what was the other? The Sopranos. I couldn't get on with that either. So I'm wondering if it is just that sort of subgenre of this peek into real life, which all three of those shows is doing.
Yeah.
Your sort of violent back alley sort of life. But yeah, I didn't get on with any of them. I prefer to have a few vampires in there, you know.
And on that note, we'll be back next week where we talk about Out of Sight, Out of Mind, I believe it's called.
We are, and I think this is the Cordelia showcase episode, so I'm going to be very happy.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Hey.
Well,
My God, we both got in about 3 stories from our past there.